to Fighting Over the VCR. My name is Matthew.
I'm Nancy.
And for this episode, we're going to do something a little different. We kind of mentioned in our last episode that we're going to shake things up a bit. We were going to try a couple new things. And, in the episode where we talked about The Natural, I was a little harsh on Nancy.
Very harsh. Because
she had not seen a few baseball movies that I could not believe she hadn't seen. So, with that and the upcoming All-Star break and the baseball season, I kind of approached Nancy and we talked about it a little bit, and we had this idea to review some baseball movies. And this gave Nancy the opportunity to see these movies that she tragically had never seen. It also opened it up for me to kind of revisit some of them. But so we decided on 5 movies, but talking about 5 movies, just the two of us, is kind of difficult. So we invited some fans of the podcast to join us. So joining us this episode is Sherry. Say hi, Sherry.
Hello.
And Drew.
Hello, hello.
And we're going to be talking about some movies that that we all kind of grew up watching, because that's kind of the whole deal here. The movies range from the late 70s to the early 90s. We're kind of excited to be able to revisit these. Some of them we really liked. Some of them we have other feelings about. So, just to start off, we're going to talk about The Sandlot, Field of Dreams, Bull Durham, A League of Their Own, and Bad News Bears.
The version that came out in the 2000s?
No. God, no.
No?
No.
Oh, wait, we watched the wrong one then.
That would... Okay. You're fired. That's just terrible. No, we're going to be talking about the 1970s version of Bad News Bears with Walter Matthau.
Okay.
But we're going to start this discussion. Oh, and also joining us, much like he does when I watch baseball, is Mulder the Podcat. There. Oh,
He introduced himself.
thanks, Mulder. Uh-huh. Do you have any other opinions that you have about these movies?
He's excited to see 2 extra people around the microphones.
Oh, more laps to sit on.
That's
more
right.
chairs to jump on. All right, so we're going to start with The Sandlot. Nancy, do you want to give a brief description of The Sandlot?
Sure. So The Sandlot takes place in Southern California, 1962, and it's about a group of preteen kids that all meet up in a sandlot, which is kind of like an abandoned field, over the summer to play baseball. There were originally 8 kids, and then little Scott Smalls moves into town, and he becomes their 9th man. There's a big dog that they deal with, and hijinks happen. Takes place over summer. I mean, not a whole lot else to say as a description.
I think that is a pretty fair description. I mean, it's the summer. It's you see them go through the 4th of July, and this was also a movie that someone when I posed the question on Facebook of whether this was even a baseball, of baseball movies, they questioned whether this was even a baseball movie, which I thought was interesting, because it really is kind of a coming of age kind of movie where everything doesn't just revolve around baseball or them and the Sandlot. That is a running theme throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
But it isn't necessarily the main focus. There's a very famous scene at a swimming pool with one of the characters, and how he is in love with a lifeguard and tries to make moves on the lifeguard.
Oiling.
And there's a famous scene also at the fair during the 4th of July, which is famous because it's of its grotesqueness,
Right.
where the kids decided to try chewing tobacco and then go on. Was it like the Gravitron or one of those?
Yeah.
It's
It's the Gravitron, right? and all end up getting sick, and it's not.
It's really gross.
It's really gross.
It's as if Sam Raimi directed a vomit scene.
Absolutely no. It's gross. It's a fun movie, and it's a baseball movie in my eyes only because they talk a lot about the history of baseball.
Yes.
One of the main character that is narrating the whole story that you're following along, and who's like the new kid on the block, knows nothing about baseball. He doesn't know who Babe Ruth is. He doesn't know what position to play. He doesn't know how to throw a ball. Mm-mm. He knows nothing.
That was something I wrote down. What is he, like 9?
No. I think they're all about 11.
Oh, he's probably
11 or
Isn't
12.
he entering 5th grade?
Yeah.
Doesn't he say that?
Okay, so he's probably 9 or 10.
How
does he not know how to throw?
Well,
it's just kind of always been strange to me.
They do establish that his biological father had passed away, and he has Dennis Leary for his stepdad, and it seems like the relationship with his stepdad is really cold or distant. But then again, this takes place in the 60s, and I don't know about you, but every version of 60s dads, like I'm thinking of Wonder Years also, the dads are kind of cold and unapproachable, and it makes sense that he didn't have this let's go throw the ball around kind of relationship with his
I understand that, but like Drew said, it was like even at school, like nobody's throwing the ball. I don't know.
Well,
It's believable.
There's plenty of kids that just never really get to develop their athletic abilities, and they kind of fly under the radar. He was probably just getting a C minus in PE all those years. You never know.
When he needs to
Definitely
have a hat,
picked last.
when he needs to have a hat to play, like a cap to go out and play with the kids, it's a fishing hat.
Yeah.
It's not even a baseball cap.
Yeah.
So, he's definitely new to this whole thing, and all the other kids really school him on it. But they also school him on, the lore of the neighborhood and stuff like that. And probably the other famous thing about this movie is his whole interaction with the Beast, which ends up just being a dog.
A very large, slobbery dog.
But he's a cute dog.
I think he's a Mastiff. Looks like a Mastiff.
He's a cute dog.
Yeah, he's cute. I like big dogs, though.
And, the dog is owned by this blind old man who ends up being, a former baseball player and
Darth Vader.
Friends with her. Yep, James Earl Jones. There you go.
First of 2 movies with him.
I'm glad that I got to rewatch this movie. It's not my favorite baseball movie, and a lot of people really like this movie because I think more of the coming of age aspect of it. Because if you are the age of the kids or you're a teenager, this movie is funny. Mm-hmm. It has that. It is definitely more of a kids movie. But I know people who grew up with it still love this movie. I think it's mainly because you grew up with it.
Yeah.
I saw it in the theater when it came out, at least with with summer school or something, but...
Weren't you about the age of the kids when this movie came out? Or were you a little older? A little older.
13, 14, I think, yeah.
It came out in 93.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So I thought, but I've always loved it. But I'd agree that probably if I watched it now, I'm sure I would find it entertaining, but I don't know if it would hold the same meaning for me.
Well, I think
No.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's great about rewatching movies that you watched when you were growing up, is you don't just have sometimes you have, that's what makes it fun for you to watch. And you could watch it over and over again because it brings you back to how you used to feel when you first watched it. So I can understand someone who liked it when it first came out, going to see it, and then watching it years later and just always having that connection to it. So, I didn't see this movie in the theater. The first time I saw it was on TV, on cable, years after it came out. I was probably in high school still, but that was the first time I had ever seen it.
I think I saw it soon after it came out. I don't remember seeing it in the theater, but I think it was a movie I saw with my girlfriends. I think one of us had rented it and watched it at a slumber party or something, because me and my girlfriends from high school... We have a handful of inside jokes that are about this movie, but of the 4 of us, I probably was the least connected to this movie. But every now and then, one of us will say something about "You're killing me, Smalls," or forever. We'll kind of pull one of those quotes out, but this movie, watching it again, it definitely has like a young adult comedy quality to it. And there's a lot of physical humor in this movie, which personally for me isn't really my style. So it's not a movie I'm interested in rewatching for a third or fourth time. I've, watched it for this project and I'm like, okay, I'm good. Like, I definitely, I know we're going to all go over what our favorite scenes from this movie is, but like for me, it is the swimming pool scene when Squints pretends to drown so the lifeguard will save him. I think that's by far the funniest scene of the movie. And
who's your favorite character?
My favorite character, I'm not picking one. I'm going to just say both Benny and Scott. I love that Benny really took Scott under his wing, and I think Scott is very sweet and really wants to fit in and is doing what he can to fit in. And I respect that a lot. And I think it's really, I felt a lot of empathy for him.
He is kind of the moral compass too.
Yeah, and he's a narrator. So, I mean, the story's from his point of view, so it's, easy to kind of be drawn to him. What other scenes do people like?
I actually always, I love a lot of scenes because I love this movie. Probably the most out of the four of us. My favorite scene is when they're playing at night with the fireworks. I've always really liked that scene. I think it's nice. So,
who's your favorite character?
Squints.
You like Squints?
Mm-hmm.
Do you like his whole kind of ploy to try and make out with his dream girl?
Well,
to sexually assault
right,
a
I know.
lifeguard.
I know. Yeah, that part is
I personally liked that in 1993 they were smart enough to have the narrator not once but twice make sure you know that it was okay. Because right after, they're like, and every time he walked by, she would smile at him. And then at the end, they're like, and Squints married her.
They had 9
Yeah,
children.
they had kids. So don't feel bad that he totally conned her into kissing her.
I know. It's totally
Drew, who's your
Not
favorite
good.
character in
not the good
this movie?
This was rough, man. I couldn't come up with one until the end, and by default, I went with Mr. Myrtle, James Earl Jones.
Yeah.
Excellent choice.
Because I was just like, cool. He knew George, Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
And then his story about going blind is just kind of sad. So, yeah, he was the only character that didn't seem like a caricature in the film to me.
Yeah.
So,
He was probably the most real character, and I like, he has one of the best lines in the movie because they're all afraid to like go and get the ball, and he's like, "Why didn't you just come around and knock on the door, and I would have gotten it for you?"
well, and it's also nice that they feel indebted to him, and the only payment he wants is he's just like, "Just come talk baseball with me."
Yeah.
Right, because he
just loves
lonely
baseball.
guy, and that's it.
Yeah.
What about you, Matt?
My favorite character is Porter, the catcher.
He's
The great Hambino.
Yeah, I like him for a couple reasons. One, he's also the main character in one of my favorite scenes when the Little League team comes to the Sandlot on all their bikes to start shit with them, and then he's like the number one mouthpiece to like start to like give them shit. And then when they decide to have a game, I love the banter he has as the catcher, where he's trying to like take them out of their game, like while they're batting, and he's talking about like their moms and
Is
all
that
this
your
kind of stuff.
sister in the outfield?
Naked.
She's naked.
Wasn't his final insult, "You play ball like a girl"?
Yeah, something like that. That's not really.
I've always thought that kid, well, when I was younger, I thought he was so cute. The head, like, jerk guy.
Oh, on the other team? You mean from the... Not Porter.
No.
The other reason why I like Porter is totally unrelated to this movie.
Love son-in-law.
Let me guess. No, he was in an X-Files episode.
He's in one of the best episodes of X-Files called Bad Blood.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. And if you ask Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny, they also say that's their favorite episode. So that was pretty good. I think that's one of the other things that he has been in. And with the exception of Dennis Leary and Scott's mom, I don't think any of the other child
Mary
actors.
Ravenwood?
Huh?
Marion Ravenwood.
Yes,
Yes.
Marion Ravenwood.
Karen, I was
Indiana
so excited.
Jones.
Karen
Indiana
Allen,
Jones.
right?
Totally forgot was in this
Yeah.
movie.
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
When I saw it, I was so excited. I was like, it's
Well, I
Karen
saw her and I was like, "What has she been in?" Because I didn't recognize her. But other than that, I don't think any of the other kids have done anything acting wise other than.
Squints is in Freaks and Geeks.
You're right. He
Yes.
plays the bully,
The
Yes.
bully who becomes a friend.
friend at the very end, at the end of that show.
Yep.
Yeah.
Does he make out with the lifeguard in Freaks and Geeks too?
No.
He doesn't
Great
make
show, you
out-
need to
He
watch
doesn't make out with
But he does.
anyone.
But he does eventually tell them that he likes like Star Trek and stuff, and wants to go to, and is just likes the same stuff that they do, but he just has to be a bully about it.
Which you could see Squints growing up to be that kid.
Oh yeah, absolutely. You were saying something earlier.
First off, I want to bring up 93 is prime Dennis Leary. During the catch scene, didn't it seem like he just wanted to light a cigarette and just start screaming profanity at him?
The first catch scene.
Yes, the first catch scene.
Yes.
Like, he just looks so annoyed.
Like, you don't know how do you not know
Yeah.
what you're doing?
My favorite scene, and I did not even remember this, is when they do the origin of the beast, and it goes to black and white.
Oh
And
yeah.
the size of it is completely exaggerated. And it looked like something that would be in like an early 80s, mid 80s Tim Burton film.
Yeah.
And it completely caught me off guard. Like, the whole rest of the movie just looks like a cheesy early 90s, heavily influenced by Spielberg, like glossy film. And then all of a sudden it just goes to this weird, bizarre, like everything's smoky.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene. Because it's nothing like the rest of the film.
That scene is great.
There's something that this movie has in it that drives me crazy, and it's really dumb. I mean, this is like
Side talker.
this is no, it doesn't have a side talker. Although Squints is kind of a side talker,
A little bit.
but different from the side talkers that I get annoyed at. At the end, when they're doing like when they're giving like the little brief like flash forward to what happened to all the kids as they left the Sandlot.
It has the Dodgers.
Well, there's that, which is completely annoying, and unfortunately, lots of movies have that because it's LA. No one's perfect. Anyway, no, they do this flash forward where they talk about the two brothers and how one became an architect and one went into being a contractor, and then they invented this thing called mini malls. I get really annoyed when movies make up false history.
Ooh.
Like
I know.
Like making post-it note, like inventing post-it notes.
No, that was done for a purpose
I
in
know.
that movie.
Like
And Romeo and Michelle got
Dodgers.
and Romeo and
No,
Michelle
you
got
don't.
called out for
but
making
this,
up.
but this
We'll talk
whole,
about that
but watching this again brought this up to me, and I was like, God, I get so annoyed at that, and
Yeah,
that is
it's-
one of the reasons why I have such a problem with Forrest Gump. Because of the false history it creates.
Well, that isn't
Spoiler alert, maybe we're going to talk about
that
Forrest
movie
Gump
isn't
in a
trying to
future
sell
episode.
it like it's almost like it's true. Like this is they say it in
That
Sandlot.
movie, Forrest Gump,
God,
the
here we go.
entire movie is about selling like it's true. That's the whole point of Forrest Gump.
You know what part annoys me?
proposed that he taught Elvis Presley how to dance.
They proposed that he came up with the "Have a nice day" smiley face
I know all
bumper
the things
stickers.
they proposed because I love that movie.
I mean, and I guess the reason why it bothers me is like the stupidest, nitpickiest things. Like kids are
get
gonna
it.
watch this and think that
So-
really happened.
So Matt, did you do like a huge internet deep dive on mini malls after watching this movie?
No, I don't give a shit really about that. But it's just like obviously those kids did not invent mini malls.
You know what bothers me about that scene is when that part where they're just like, and Bertram just got lost in the '60s. Like, what is that? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know what they're trying to imply.
Yeah,
but
did he
it's
like have some crazy LSD
just like-
trip and then
yeah,
like
it's just
jump off the
weird.
Bay Bridge or something?
Yeah.
Well, not the Bay Bridge because
also-
they're in Southern California.
Like, if he's supposed to be
So there's
10,
no bridges down there.
No,
Okay.
it's
if he's supposed to be 10, he got lost in the '60s. Like, he's like 18 and like 70. I don't know. It just seems.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Well, if we're going to talk about nitpick issues about this movie, I overall didn't
do it.
really like
let's do
the
it.
narration. I felt like
Bad version of the Wonder Years.
bad version of the Wonder
Stand
Years
by
and
Me.
Stand.
There you go.
You pulled it out of my brain. Yes, both Stand by Me came out in the mid '80s, and of course, the Wonder Years was late 80s into the 90s, and I felt like this movie was really trying to copy the style of both of those movies. And, you know, as he's talking about the kids and their future updates, how they, like, disappear into thin air while they're, you know, in their positions. But, yeah, exactly.
Which is Stand By Me, yeah.
You know, because I loved both The Wonder Years and Stand By Me, so to see this kind of be
That
kind of...
Wow, and, you know, and in Stand By Me... wasn't like his brother a baseball player?
Which brother?
Or was he a football player? The Will Wheaton's older brother.
Played by John Cusack.
Yes, that guy.
I don't remember if he was a...
remember.
Well,
I know he was
we
an
may talk
athlete.
about Stand By Me on a future
I know he
episode.
was an athlete. All right.
Anyways, but yeah, so we all have a few issues with some of the style choices that were used for Sandlot.
I have two things that I will say really quick that I also thought about as well. One, at the end, how does he still have that hat in that good of shape
The fish
when
hat.
he's narrating?
The fishing hat
Yeah.
when he's the
He's
terrible radio announcer for the
who
Dodgers.
Who just stands up, turns his back to the microphone
That's
as
weird.
he's announcing a home run.
That was
Right.
weird. But also, in my more enlightened state than I was when I was like 14 when I used to, you know, watch it, although I have watched it since. How did James Earl Jones play with Babe Ruth during that time? Like, he wouldn't be able to play with Babe Ruth, like, unless we're supposed to assume that he's, like, actually white.
Oh, because of
Could
the
have been
Negro Leagues.
Like, it seems...
Well, they just say he knew him.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't think he actually says that he played with
But he
him.
has on, like, a uniform in that picture, like...
Well, he could have been in the Negro
well,
Leagues.
sure.
They could have known
That's
him.
what I thought. That's why I was, like, wondering. I'm
That is interesting, though. I didn't think of that while watching
I
it.
forget what uniform I thought
It
he
could
had
be.
on.
It could be like what John McGraw tried to do. John McGraw, one of the greatest Giants managers ever.
Yes.
It could have been like what he tried to do, where he in the early 1900s actually tried to have two African American players on the team
he did.
and said they were Cuban because
Yep.
Cubans were
Right.
allowed to play,
Right.
but black people weren't.
So, I found that, I thought about that too,
Okay.
which I think that scene is so nice too.
All right, well, does anyone have any final thoughts about Sandlot before we move on to our next movie?
2 thumbs down. That's my final thought.
Not your favorite, huh?
No.
When did you first see Sandlot?
I saw it in the theater, and I loved it. I loved it as a 12-year-old.
Wow. 12-year-old Drew doesn't have the same taste as grown-up Drew.
No, not at all.
Do you think it just hasn't aged well for you, or did you not, or have you just like grown beyond it?
I believe that when you're a kid, like, you don't pay attention to, like, directorial choices, quality of acting, quality of screenplay, like,
You're
any
much
of
more of
that
a
stuff.
cineast,
And also,
like,
like,
yeah.
you haven't seen better versions of the film. Like, I hadn't seen Stand By Me when I saw Sandlot.
Oh, okay.
Before. So there's nothing to compare it to be like, oh, this is clearly inferior to anything else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I definitely.
While looking up this movie, I did find it telling that the only thing this director ever directed after this is Sandlot sequels and Beethoven's Second and Beethoven's Third.
Okay.
That makes sense.
That makes total sense.
Because of the dog. Like,
Yeah.
he likes dog comedy.
Yeah. So I'm not the only one who thought this guy was a hack director.
I would.
That's the genre, dog comedy.
Hack director.
Dog comedy.
I just as a note, Drew just mentioned the sequels. I looked this up. Sandlot 2, which came out like
Electric Boogaloo?
which came. It might as well be called that, but it's the exact same movie, just with different kids. I mean,
Is that the one that's all girls?
No,
No, that's the third one.
no.
That's what I
There's a
mentioned before.
Sandlot 2 that is basically the same movie. It just takes place in the 70s.
Oh, okay.
It's different kids, but it's the same. One of the kids is a girl. There's a couple other girls in it, which makes it, trying to switch it up a little bit. But James Earl Jones does reprise his role as Mr. Burtle. The third sequel it's not called Sandlot 3, it's called Sandlot Coming Home or something like that. One of the people actually goes back in time. And it's a
Shut
time
up.
traveling movie.
Nuh-uh.
No,
Whoa, I'm
That's
in.
the one he forgot to
I
mention
want
in
to
the new
watch
Avengers
that.
movie.
maybe.
Hot Tub Time Machine. Sandlot 3.
I think I'll watch Sandlot 3.
Have fun wasting your time.
When I
Hack
got
directors.
When I got it for $2 on Vudu, it was all three of them. It was like a package.
Nice.
So
For the
we
Sandlot?
can check it out. Yes, we can check it out.
We can give everyone a full update later.
Ooh.
They're dying to know.
All right, so batting second in our movie rundown here is going to be Field of Dreams. Matt, why don't you give us a little summary?
So, Field of Dreams, which was news to me, is based on a book called Shoeless Joe. In this movie, it stars Kevin Costner, and he hears voices that tell him to build a baseball field in his cornfield in Iowa, which then eventually ghosts of baseball players past come to the field and play baseball, which ends up being this whole kind of life lesson kind of thing for him to reconnect with his deceased father. And which is like the easiest way for me to describe this movie.
Yeah, that's good.
And it's obviously a lot more in depth than that, but one of the fun things for me watching this movie is the baseball history it talks about.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of it, they're not basing this off of any, made up history, false history, like
Who invented mini malls?
Who invented mini malls. All the players in it that they talk about are real, which is fun. And the main baseball player that comes back is Shoeless Joe Jackson, who was banned from baseball after him and the other players on the White Sox team that they threw the World Series and they were all banned from baseball.
Mm-hmm.
So he kind of comes back as like the first ghost to meet with Ray, Kevin Costner's character, and kind of sends Kevin Costner on his journey to kind of, as one of the other characters in the movie, James Earl Jones's character, Terrence Mann, tells him it's serving penance for all the bad things he said to his dad that he never got to, apologize for.
Mm-hmm.
This is one of those movies, I never saw it in the theater. I just watched it for the first time on TV, like years after it had come out on cable or something. And I never really liked it at first. It wasn't until I got older to where I appreciated it more. I'll just start it off by saying, or continue saying this. Probably my favorite character in this movie is James Earl Jones's character. And just because of how he treats Kevin Costner when he first meets him is just hilarious. And he just doesn't want to have anything to do with him. Kevin Costner goes to meet him to help him on his, figure out why the hell he had to build this cornfield. James Earl Jones just doesn't want to have anything to do with him until he has to get basically kidnapped by Kevin Costner to bring him to this game, to a baseball game, and hopefully figure out why the hell he's doing this.
Anyone else agree? James Earl Jones? He's my favorite character.
He was the one I wrote down too.
My favorite character and my favorite scene is when Ray quotes from his book and James Earl Jones grabs the pesticide.
Oh, you're from the 60s.
Be gone with you.
That is the scene I wrote down.
Yeah.
That's my favorite scene.
So you guys have the same favorite scene, and is James Earl Jones your favorite character too? Okay, all four of us agree. James Earl Jones.
That's the only good scene and character in the movie.
Okay, no, I didn't say that, but he's my favorite character also.
But one of the I would just say that I think that one of the reasons why this is a baseball movie, and other than the fact that it has baseball in it, is it really plays on the history of the game in a different way. It's not a period piece where it's filming in that time frame. It takes place in modern day, but baseball, the sport, is so focused on its history and statistics and all these different things about records and all of that, and it really kind of plays on that. So if you are a baseball fan like I am, it's fun hearing all these stories about the players and then hearing all these statistics, and then near the end of the movie, they pick up a player and they tell this whole story about this former Giants player who only got to play in an inning and never had an at bat, and then just quit and became a doctor and saved all these kids' lives. And all of that is true. That all really happened. It's not just made up for this movie. I kind of think it's interesting how they're playing on the history. Mm-hmm. And, again, as a baseball fan, I really liked that part of it. Mm-hmm. So then there's at the end of the movie, there's the other great James Earl Jones scene is when he gives this monologue about why this field is important and how they can get all these people to come, the importance of the field is people will be able to come to this field and see all these players that they grew up watching and remember what their life was when they were kids and what their dreams were and how it'll take them back to remembering their purpose in life.
He really gives you you get the feeling kind of watching it, but it can get very cheesy at times. So that monologue is really brings you feel why
right.
He brings it together.
And I think it's not the greatest baseball movie, but as a baseball fan, I really attached to that part of it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. My favorite scene in the movie is the end when he realizes, one of the players on the field is his ghost dad, and that he and his ghost dad are able to play.
Not Bill Cosby, the ghost dad, right?
No.
No, his dad. They're able to play a game of catch, and I didn't realize. So I hadn't seen this movie until the last couple weeks as part of this assignment.
That was one of the movies that I harassed her about
endlessly. Yes,
because you didn't see it.
Correct.
Now you have.
Yes.
Now, kudos to you.
Thank you. I didn't realize how emotional this movie was going to be. I mean, seeing all these baseball player ghosts basically getting to kind of be in a heaven-like place that he created. This baseball field became this heaven for these baseball ghosts. And the idea that you have to believe in it to see it, because one of the characters in the movie, Kevin Costner's brother-in-law, doesn't see these players, but Kevin Costner, his wife, James Earl Jones, and their daughter, they all see the players clear as day, but they believe in it. And once you kind of open your mind to that possibility, it's oh, here they are. So once one of the characters did something kind of miraculous, then the brother-in-law finally got on board, and then
once the brother-in-law almost kills his niece.
Yes.
And then an elderly doctor appears out of nowhere to save her.
Yes.
Then he suddenly can see young shoeless Joe.
Yes, exactly what happens. So then
totally realistic.
So in the movie, after Kevin Costner and his dad start tossing the ball around, the cameras pan out and you see the long train of headlights where all these people are gonna show up. If you build it, they will come. And
music swells.
Yeah. I mean,
Spielbergization.
I mean, it was very emotional. I mean, I was very weepy that last 10 minutes of the movie. How soon will I watch this movie again? I don't know. I don't know if I need to watch it anytime soon again.
I remembered the scene, Dad, you want to have a catch? Or can we have a catch? Whatever. Yeah. Going into watching this, I was fully expecting to lose it during that scene. And I did not, because the dad has no idea who the fuck he is.
Very, very true.
He has never had a son at that age. He's introduced to him, and he's like, hey, I'm Ray. I'm just some dude named Ray, and this is my wife, and this is my kid. And he's like, hey, cool, man. Yeah, I'll hang out with you, Ray. Let's hang out. And then just out of the blue, he just goes, hey, Dad, want to have a catch? Why does he start crying? It's a stranger. He should be like, why did you just call me Dad?
Well, the dad...
You're older than me.
I think for Kevin Costner, though, it's emotional for him.
It's emotional for him, but the dad starts tearing up, too.
Well...
We don't know how ghosts work.
We don't know how ghosts work.
That's true. That's true.
Yeah. Are you a supernatural paranormal investigator?
No.
No.
You probably
knows?
wouldn't see the field. You literally see the field. You probably wouldn't see the baseball players on this field.
Probably not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say when you first saw it?
I didn't see it in the theater. I probably saw it within, like, back then it took a year or so to come out on VHS. So I know as soon as it showed up at Blockbuster.
So you saw it as a kid?
Yeah.
I think I remember Mom and Dad seeing this, and Dad, like, hating this movie.
Yeah, I don't remember him liking it.
I don't remember him liking it at all.
I don't remember it
I'm
ever
sure
being
he'll
on at the
correct
house.
us later, but
I think he likes it now, though.
I don't know.
I could see him not liking it.
I think that there's a lot of, like, this is the second of the 3 to come out of the Kevin Costner trilogy of baseball movies. So I mean, if you do not like Kevin Costner, those are 3 movies you will not like. I don't know Dad's real feelings about Kevin Costner.
Is the third one Waterworld?
No.
Oh.
No.
Perfect game.
For the love of the
For
game.
the love of the game.
For the love of the game, which is that would fall under
That movie's
rom-com
not bad.
as well, probably too.
I actually think I might like it better than Field of Dreams.
Did you just watch Field of Dreams for the first time also, Sherry?
No, the first time I saw Field of Dreams was in 2011. We were packing to go to Yosemite as a family. I had never seen it, and Matt was like, "You should watch it. You like the history part of it as a baseball fan." So I had it on, and the Giants game was on in the other room. And it was the night that Scott Cousins decided he was going to burrow into Buster and break his ankle.
Whoa.
I was in the middle of watching that, and that happened. So
You had 2 reasons to cry that night. Mm-hmm. Wow.
yeah, that's bad. That was the first time I
Wow.
saw it. So it was
Yeah, May 2011.
The thing that surprised me watching it this time, because I only saw it once before, is I thought there was like a slow build to the voice and like building the
Yeah, I
field.
thought so too.
No, it's immediate.
The
It
very
is,
first
yeah.
line of dialogue that's not his narration is the voiceover, and it's like 4 minutes in, and I was like, "What?" And then the field immediately gets built. It sits there dormant.
Yeah, they actually do a cut scene where it's Christmas and there's snow all over the field. So he builds it one summer, and then the next summer is when you actually see the ghosts.
Yeah.
One thing, and it's interesting that we all picked James Earl Jones and Terrence Mann as our favorite character, because apparently in the book, the reclusive author is not Terrence Mann; it's J.D. Salinger.
Oh,
That's interesting.
Somehow the author got him to okay it for the book, but Salinger threatened to sue for the movie.
Oh.
So they created this character of Terrence Mann. If this had been J.D. Salinger, baseball would take a back seat in the movie, because it would be like, hey, have you seen that weird movie where, like, J.D. Salinger comes out of his reclusiveness and, like, goes on this cross-country journey and stuff? I think it was incredibly lucky for the filmmakers that they got threatened with the lawsuit and had to change it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
That's interesting.
and you shared with me a fun fact about James Earl Jones that I didn't know earlier today.
Yeah, James Earl Jones has been in now that I know about Sandlot 2, 4 baseball movies. Besides 2 Sandlot movies, Field of Dreams, he was also in one in 1976 where he was a Negro League player. But he hates baseball. He doesn't like baseball.
Oh.
Maybe hate is a strong word, but he's not a fan of baseball. So it's funny that he's been in these
golf?
movies. Maybe he likes fencing, lightsaber fencing.
I know.
Yeah.
My favorite scene is when Annie yells at that lady in the community meeting and calls her what does she say, Nazi?
A book burning Nazi.
For wanting to ban Catcher in the Rye.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What was actually happening there.
Yes. Yeah, that's funny. Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking
she's
of
funny.
Star Wars, though, multiple points in this movie, Kevin Costner's character just gets really fucking whiny.
Yeah, he's Luke Skywalker whiny.
He's a Skywalker.
Yeah,
It could be Luke.
it could be Anakin.
It could be Anakin.
Yeah.
But there were multiple times where I was like, did not remember this guy being so annoying in this movie.
That is an excellent point.
I also like that at the start when he gives his, like, I told my dad off, I moved here, then I went to college in California, then I moved here. I was like, this is a good way to make it make sense to where you can never pin down Kevin Costner's accent.
Oh, yeah. There you go.
Yeah,
Like,
it's
I lived
always
7
he has
different
one of
places.
those
He
ones
lived in,
where
he
you're
started
like,
in North
what?
Dakota,
Yeah.
and then he went to
Yeah.
California, then to Iowa.
Went to Berkeley.
I think that we all kind of have some interesting feelings about this. The last point that on my notes here is I kind of like the music in this, like the dramatic piano that happens every time like one of the ghosts pops up. I don't know. I was like, kind of like this. This is kind of. I mean, it's almost all of the natural music, but
It's in the same realm.
I don't know. Kind of liked it.
I like it. I do. I don't dislike it, but it is. It's definitely. It's always like. It's a cheesy movie, but I like it.
All right. Next up is Bull Durham. Bull Durham, which has one of my favorite lines. I'm the player to be named later.
Original name of the film.
Really?
Yep.
Nice. Bull Durham is about the Durham Bulls, and which is a minor league baseball team, which is an actual minor league baseball team. It stars, again, Kevin Costner. This was the first of the baseball movies. And Tim Robbins and Susan Sarandon, where Tim Robbins is a hot shot pitcher, just coming up, but he is not. He has terrible control. He doesn't know what he's doing. He just has a really strong arm. And Kevin Costner gets called up to help him, to help straighten out Tim Robbins' character. And in the meantime, Susan Sarandon, who plays Annie, is obsessed with baseball, lives in the town, and has this, what would you call it? Is it like it's just kind of a game she plays, but
It's not a game.
she just has
It's a project.
yeah,
Yes.
it's her purpose.
She has a
Her
purpose.
purpose in life is every year to find a player, hook up with them, and then they have the greatest year they've ever had.
Yep.
In
like
the
she
minors.
She mentors them too.
She mentors them.
Mentors,
does.
grooms, helps
It's-
guide them.
It's like if in Almost Famous, Penny Lane went to like local dive bars and like
It
banged
is.
someone
It's true.
who played bass in
Yes.
the cover band.
It's very
Yeah,
similar.
and then the band became famous.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Then they get the cover Rolling
And she
Stone.
never talked to them ever again.
Yeah, after that.
Yeah.
So the whole movie is about kind of the journey of how Nuke Lelouch, played by Tim Robbins, hooks up with Annie, Susan Sarandon, and gets better the whole, throughout the year, and then eventually goes to the majors. But while this is all happening, Annie is kind of struggling because she keeps fighting off feelings that she has for Crash Davis, who is played by Kevin Costner. Kevin Costner, the whole movie, is interested in Annie. He's tried to hook up with her multiple times, but it's not until the end where they finally realize that they're meant to be together. As far as this being a baseball movie, I mean, this is definitely a baseball movie.
Oh yeah.
But I would say it's also kind of a rom-com.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which Nancy is very happy about hearing.
This is the one the most that you hadn't seen. I was like, oh my god, you'll love this.
Yeah.
And because it is very funny. There's very funny scenes in this that have nothing to do with baseball, and some very funny scenes that have everything to do with baseball. The first time I saw this movie was probably on cable in high school, and then it wasn't until later that I saw an unedited version of this movie. Some of the classic baseball scenes in this movie is the team that they play for, the Durham Bulls at this time, is terrible, and they keep losing. And at one point, the manager is like talking to Crash, and he's like, "Man, how do I get through to these guys?" And Crash is like, "Scare them. They're all kids. Just scare them." So he takes like 10 bats in his hand. They're all in the shower, and he just throws them into the shower and just just yells at the whole team to get into the shower where the shower's going. Guys are naked. It's crazy, and just starts yelling at them about how they're lollygagging around the bases and everything. And he gives them this advice. He just tells them, "It's a simple game. You hit the ball, you throw the ball, and you catch the ball. That's it. That scene, and there's a scene where they're having one of those classic meetings on the mound. And if you watch baseball, you're always like, everyone who watches baseball is like, what the fuck are they saying when they're on the mound? And they kind of like do a joke on that by, having this discussion about like, oh, well, blah 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 is getting married and we don't know what to get him for as a wedding present, and the second baseman's like, I've got a curse on my mitt because my wife put on it and now I can't catch anything, and we got to get a live
scene.
We got to get a live rooster.
My favorite scene too.
Really?
We're dealing with a lot of shit here.
Yes, we're dealing with a lot of shit here.
Yeah, besides the Crash and Annie sex scenes.
And
no, the mountain scene.
But yeah, I mean, this is definitely, there's a lot. If you are a casual baseball fan, then the rom-com aspects of this movie definitely will kind of pull you into wanting to watch it, I think. And then
and Kevin Costner has never been sexier. He is not my type whatsoever, but in this movie, yes.
He's cute.
And, is it his hairy belly?
Not Tim Robbins.
It's not his hairy belly. No,
You're
sure it's not? I will say this. One of the notes that I wrote down was, I think I need to try the Iron Maiden shirt with sport coat look.
That's good look.
No, I hadn't
turned on one scene, I think.
I hadn't seen this movie until just a couple weeks ago. And I loved it. I thought this movie was great. I love that it opens up with... So Susan Sarandon, I feel, carries this movie. If you're going to say who the main character of this movie, it's her. Because it's really not from her perspective in terms of, like, she's a constant narrator by any means. But she just... she's the one picking the guy. She's the one grooming the team. She's the one who... is the most invested in this team out of anybody, and like she said early on, that it's kind of this role that she's just adapted for herself because she loves the game so much, and she wants whichever player she feels has the greatest potential to tap into that potential and move on. Get to the show. The show. And my favorite scene is very early in the movie when she identifies Nuke and Crash as her two potentials and brings them both over to her house, and she gives them the whole speech, and Tim Robbins is like, all right, so what's going on? And then Kevin Costner gets up and then gives his big speech, and that that's what you see in the previews. That's what you see in the clips. And like, oh wow, oh my, that is the scene. Oh my.
I know, right?
There's two parts of that whole thing that I found really funny. One is at the bar when she's like, "So you're coming home with me?" And they're like, "Which one of us?" And she goes, "Both of you." And Costner is just like, yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah, not knowing what that means. It could mean they're double teaming her. But Costner's like, whatever. And Tim Robbins is like, oh, I don't know about this. But during his speech, when he's like, I believe in this, I believe in this. When he says, I believe Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, it made me laugh so much because 2 years later, he plays Jim Garrison in JFK. And spends 3 fucking hours trying to prove that he didn't act alone.
But I'm going to also say, I feel that this movie is about women being very like sex positive and very this is like a female empowerment role.
I feel the same way.
I mean, when Kevin Costner turns to her and says, why do you get to pick? And she's like, honey, this is just the way it is. In fact, no one's really picking anybody. It's just a matter of timing. It's a matter of this and this and this. I mean, I just thought, I don't know if she was quite in her 40s yet, but I mean, she wasn't like a 20-year-old picking. She wasn't Penny Lane picking up these guys. She clearly was, I guess.
Probably just
Susan Sarandon herself was 42.
There we go.
The movie was made.
Yeah. But
we looked it up. Tim Robbins was 30 and Kevin Costner was 33.
Yeah, so he was so much younger.
Did you see who they wanted to play Nuke?
No. They
were trying to get Anthony Michael Hall, who was 20 at the time, which would have made more sense that he's supposed to be a rookie pitcher.
Yeah.
To play Nuke.
Yeah, getting life lessons from this older guy.
But he already did that in
guys.
Weird Science like 2 years before, so maybe not.
But yeah, the whole time that it's like Tim Robbins is supposed to be such a young dude compared to Kevin Costner, I'm like, they don't look that much different in age.
Yeah. No, the definitely the age, like you can see that, and I think that's just a typical problem of 80s movies is not casting the right age group.
I mean, Billy Crystal and Meg Ryan are supposed to be the same age in When Harry Met Sally, and I think they're like 28 years apart in real life. So
no way.
But anyways, I thought this movie was great. That I thought there were a lot of great scenes, but my favorite scene is that early scene, just because it really just kind of sets the table for what you expect for the rest of the movie. And again, Susan Sarandon, one of the strongest female characters I'd seen in a movie in a long, long time. And I feel that even though this movie did come out in the late 80s, it still holds up. It didn't feel dated to me.
No.
Oh, I will say something that dates it, that drives me crazy.
I saw in your notes something about saxophone.
Cheesy 80s saxophone music.
Yeah.
It is. It is pretty bad. Especially during the sex scene.
It is really cheesy. Can date any movie to the 80s. It drives me. Yeah.
Well, you know.
Is she your favorite character?
Annie was my favorite character.
Me too.
She was my favorite character too.
Same here.
Woohoo! 2 in a row with the same
thing-
favorite character.
To me, anyone else plays that role, this movie's not as good.
Yeah.
And possibly not
Agreed.
good at all.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, she's probably the only one that could have pulled that off.
Yeah.
I just feel that this movie, it has also just that great. The opening has like that great summer night feel, like, and as like a big baseball fan, you know, it makes you want to go to like a minor league game and just like, you know, have a beer and have fun, and they just look like they're having so much fun out there. You know, she's doing her scorecard, and
I mean, she's
I'm so
sending
into
notes
it.
to the dugout saying,
Yeah.
"Tell this one guy he's bending too far
Yeah.
back, or he's not leaning
She's
into
just-
the swing,
I just
or do
love how
something
much
with your
she's in-
hips."
I
Well,
There she is.
and they never question it.
Nope.
Like
Nope.
they're always just like, "Oh, Annie said it. Oh, okay, I'll do it."
Yep.
yeah.
The thing about this movie for me that separates it from the two we talked about before is that there's actual stakes for characters in it. Things go wrong, and it feels real. It feels like they'll have consequences when bad things happen. Even though when they fight, the fight choreography is so terrible. But even still, you still get the like propulsion of the consequences of the fight. Like you're like, oh, the dynamic between these characters is going to be drastically different from here on out. None of that exists in Sandlot or Field of Dreams.
No. I will say though the consequence that you'd see in Field of Dreams, which they touch on, but you never really see it actually. They don't stress the importance
Losing
of it.
the
Is
farm.
losing the farm,
Yeah.
but they don't stress it as much as they really could.
Yeah, definitely.
I would agree.
Well, it has one of my favorite just short lines in it, which is when they just switch hitting witch. It's the best.
The switch hitting witch. When do they say that? I don't remember.
When he's talking about the curse on his glove,
Oh, okay.
or maybe before, when he's asking him to like rub the chicken bones on his bat, and he's like, "You're a witch," and he's like, "A switch hitting witch."
Yes.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, that's right. He was
Yeah.
shrugging off the. Oh, you don't like my voodoo? Well, guess what? I'm a switch.
Yes,
Okay,
yes,
got it.
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's better. I always started that.
Right on. Does anyone else have any
Any more final thoughts about Bull
final
Durham?
thoughts about Bull Durham?
It's a good movie.
I do like.
I'd
this
watch
movie.
it again.
I'd watch it. When it's on, I will stop I'll stop channel surfing and watch. You know, even if I only have to watch 5 minutes of this movie, it makes me feel good to watch it.
Yeah.
Wait, so when did you first see it?
I first saw it like on TV, probably in high school. I remember like going to, I think it was an aunt and uncle's house, and like our parents and them going to go see it. For some reason, I don't know why I remember that, and then it was, but you know, because it came out in what, like 88,
Yeah.
and so we weren't old enough to. I mean, we saw stuff way worse than this, but we weren't old enough to go see it, and so I didn't see it probably until about high school.
And again, I just saw it for the first time a couple weeks ago. When did you see it, Sherry?
About 10 years or so ago, I had seen scenes of it for sure, but when I first watched the whole thing,
Yeah, I didn't see it till like 4 years ago or
Yeah.
something.
Cool.
I think the other thing about it is to me, is a lot of it is just really how baseball is for a lot of the players.
Yeah.
It's more
It's a slog.
real, and how important catchers are, because I think a lot of people don't realize that. They're just casual fans.
And like superstition and
Sure.
stuff like that. Like you know how Newt goes on his "I'm not going to have sex with Annie" streak.
Right.
He doesn't want to break the
Right.
win streak. That
And
they
he's
go
wearing
on.
her garter belt.
Yeah.
And how mental of a game it is just...
Yeah, like Crash gives that speech to Annie where he's like, if he's doing this or he's not doing that, is that really what causes him to do well? No, but he thinks it is,
Right.
so it is.
Yeah.
Right.
One of the things I loved in the movie is early on they have the manager demote a player. Mm-hmm. Like, oh, this is the worst job as the manager, blah, blah, blah. So you see him go through it, and like that player is just like blindsided by it.
Yeah, he like knocks over a chair
And so later on, when Crash comes in and the manager starts the same speech, you know what's coming, and Costner isn't blindsided. Like, it's like, been here before.
Yeah.
Like, and it's just so sad that it's
Yeah.
like, that's his life. And he even says at one point where it's like, he doesn't have the talent that Tim Robbins has, but Tim Robbins doesn't have the desire to play the game that he has.
Yeah.
right.
And that's the heartbreaking scene with Crash, is it's like, man, he wants it so bad, but
Yeah.
he's never going to get it. And then the manager even goes like, we'd like to keep you with the organization. We think you could be
Yeah.
a good minor league manager.
Yeah.
And it's like, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, when they're talking about how Annie brings up that he was only when they first picked him up, how he was only
Oh
20
my God.
20 home runs away from breaking the minor league record
Yeah.
for career home runs, and he's like, please never talk about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And
He
she
doesn't think
get
it's
it.
an accomplishment.
Yeah.
The whole reason is because it's a slap in the face, because it's like
You shouldn't have been here
you shouldn't
long
have been
enough.
here long enough to hit that many home
Yeah.
runs. And
She didn't think it was. She thought it was something he should be proud of, and she was keeping track and even knew when it happened. But like she said, it never reached the AP News. Never got it, or anybody like that.
well,
it just
and,
never
and,
became.
and
a,
that's why though.
She understands how hard baseball is, and she understands, it's just like the amount of players that just, that...
She loves those dive bar cover bands, man.
She does. She does.
Picking out the losers.
All right.
All right. So the next movie we're going to talk about is A League of Their Own from 1992. And Nancy, why don't you just give us a brief rundown?
So League of Their Own is kind of a biopic per se about, or loosely based on true story about the all-girls league that was created during World War II. It brings together, I guess there were 64 players that were ultimately allowed to play on 4 different teams.
Yeah.
And this movie takes place over the course of the very first season, and then it ends with the inception of, in the Baseball Hall of Fame, kind of the unveiling of this exhibit in the Baseball Hall of Fame. There are, sister relationships being dealt with. There are heartbreaks in this movie. There are, women having to prove that they're just as good as men, kind of issues that are dealt with in this movie. This movie is incredibly charming, and I saw this movie either in the theater or shortly thereafter, and I probably saw it a couple times in the 90s, and I hadn't seen it again until this week. And I forgot how much I liked it, honestly. I hadn't seen it in a really long time. I realized there was a reason I hadn't watched it again, mostly because I hated Tom Hanks's character. I thought he was this giant caricature of just this misogynistic bully who was frustrated and jealous, and because he was this alcoholic that couldn't make it in the big leagues anymore, he just didn't have any respect for these women, and these women, all they wanted to do was, play their game, put it all out on the field. And he couldn't be bothered to stay awake during their games, let alone manage them. So the heart and soul of this movie is Gina Davis's character, Dottie. She's a catcher, going back to how important catchers are in baseball, also in baseball movies, apparently. She really is kind of the center of this movie, and she really helps get the team going and leads the team in a lot of ways. Rosie O'Donnell's in this movie. Madonna's in this movie. Lori Petty is in this movie as Gina Davis's younger sister, who always feels like she's in the shadow of her older sister, and sort of only gets the
literally and figuratively
only gets the opportunity.
Humongous eye roll from
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought this movie was incredibly charming. I mean, you get a flavor of what it was like for these women who had their husbands or boyfriends overseas, fighting in the war, and there's even a scene where somebody gets that dreaded telegram where they find out that their husband had been killed. Very emotional. I mean, it's a very Penny Marshall, movie to start to finish. It's got a very upbeat quality through a lot of it, even though it is dealing with this kind of heavy topic of, it's a war movie in a lot of ways. Without actually being on a battlefield, it's still centered during World War II.
The gender war.
And it's a gender war, absolutely. But I thought this movie was great. My two favorite characters, I'm just going to throw this out there right now, are Gina Davis's character, but also I love David Strahan's character. He plays Ira.
Lowenstein.
He plays basically the corporate guy that keeps this going. He's the one who is the office guy that really wants to make sure that this league succeeds, even when some of the other owners want to just disband it because they don't think it's popular enough, people aren't coming out, it's not making a freaking profit, because that's what sports are supposed to do, I guess.
Just like healthcare.
He's the one who really supports them, and I just thought he was amazing. Who else wants to jump in with some comments?
I will second that Ira Lowenstein is the best character in the film. He's the only male character who gives a shit about the league, not for a financial reason, and really fights for it. Mm-hmm. And I liked at the end of the movie at the Hall of Fame when there is a picture of him in there. They acknowledge this dude, pun not intended or intended, went to bat for us and really helped it go on.
I'm just going to also mention my favorite scene in this movie. Matt and I talked about this with Better Off Dead, but all these sports movies seem to have a montage.
Many montages.
And my favorite scene in this movie starts with a montage. It's when Ira's character tells Dot, we really need to get people more interested in this, so if you've got any special moves or something, why don't you do those? So it starts with her catching the ball and going into the splits, and then from there's about a 4 or 5 minute montage of just the women doing great. They're doing these great little, they're just playing really hard, and then you see the teams are getting more popular, the stands are filling up more and more and more, and I was just cheering while I was watching that scene. I was so pumped and excited, and I thought, yes, I'd forgotten just how great that little piece of the movie was, but I love it.
It's funny
it's so nice to have a female-led film like this. I mean, even though it has its moments, and I think the editing, it doesn't need to be as long as it is. There's some scenes that definitely drag on, but I've always loved this movie. And
you loved it so much that you were a Rockford Peach for Halloween one year.
Two Halloweens. I've worn it twice. Yeah.
Did you play?
It's a great costume. It's probably my favorite
Dugan?
one.
I have the jersey and hat to be Jimmy Dugan. Yeah.
Were you dipping while you?
God no.
While you were playing Dugan?
That was the most disgusting thing on the planet.
He'd seen Sandlot. You think he would?
I would.
That's
do
true.
that. That's disgusting. No, I was just going to say that you had mentioned about how, Dottie does the splits, and then they end up, during that same kind of montage, you see a lot of the kind of playful things that the players did to get people interested in the game. And as a fan of baseball, and knowing that what the criticism of baseball is that it's boring. Mm-hmm. I think that people, to get more people interested in baseball, they kind of have to look at what they did in this movie and what they did in real life at that time to get people interested, and kind of look at that and say hey, how do you make the game fun for people to watch and see what they can do in real life? Baseball now, they could look at that.
Who's your favorite character?
I think that while I agree with everything you said about Tom Hanks and how he's just kind of not fun to watch, he really kind of turns at the end, so he's fun to watch. But I'm going different than you guys, and I'm going to say, even though he's only in it for a short time, I love John Lovitz in this movie. It's so bad, but it's very entertaining.
Yeah.
Just because, he's not the most PC character. It was a lot of fun kind of watching him, and I thought he did a really good job in this. And, he also, not as much as Ira, but he really kind of played a role in getting the league together by finding...
He was their scout.
Finding the most attractive women he could find.
Well,
Yeah, right.
Maybe Marla, finding
Poor
Marla
thing.
might have given him a change of heart, Maybe after he gave his wife a pickle tickle, and then, and then maybe he told her some stories, and then she smacked him around, and he changed his ways. I don't know.
I have a note here that just says,
Pickle tickle?
love it. Typical sleazeball role.
Yeah, pretty much.
Like, I was just like,
Yep.
they read the script, they were like, who could play this role?
Yeah.
Love it. That's who can pull this
And then
off.
a very some minor characters that stood out to me in a very minor way is
More minor than John Lovitz.
yes, Judy Baker is played by Ann Cusack, one of the other Cusacks, and the coach of the Racine team
Scully's dad.
is not just Scully's dad,
Yeah, here we go.
but is also Major Briggs on Twin Peaks.
Major Briggs.
Yup.
So there's that. Also, Sherry had mentioned editing and how there's probably some scenes in this that might be also too long. But there's also some editing errors in this movie that
There's a lot.
if you see them, you're like, what the F is going on here? Like when they're having the tryout scene, they're at the real Wrigley Field, even though they call it Harvey Field in the movie. But Wrigley Field has the ivy fence, and there's a scene where one of the outfielders catches a ball, and the fence is the wooden fence at the field that they shoot all the other scenes at. So that's just terrible editing. And there's a scene where someone clearly hits it to right field, and it's the left fielder who catches it, and stuff. I don't know, little things like that. Not really important, but are kind of annoying.
At least no one said they invented mini malls.
They did not invent mini malls, but they could at least know how to
Edit a little better.
Edit a little better. And just want to point out another Madonna movie. There you go.
Yeah.
And she was good in this.
She is what actually is my favorite scene is when they're reading the rules and they're like they say something like, yeah, no men, and she just gets up like she's gonna leave, and she's like, that's it, I'm not. She's kidding. She comes back.
I was surprised that in 1992, that Madonna could pull off playing like a tart who's just acting sexual all the time, and I didn't know she had that much range, especially in '92.
Right.
I mean, because I believe that's around the time of like the sex book coming out and
Erotica,
stuff. So
yeah.
She was always a saint before that. So this was a real stretch.
It was interesting. But yeah, I did find it funny that like the whole dynamic between her and Rosie O'Donnell is like Rosie O'Donnell makes fun of her for being slutty, and she like makes fun of Rosie O'Donnell's appearance, and the two of them became good friends afterwards.
They're great friends.
Like I'm like,
Yeah.
so you just insulted each other over and over again, and that bonded you as friends.
Well, sometimes that's what friendships are built on.
I guess so.
Asshole.
What were your favorite scenes?
My favorite scene is when Dottie goes to leave and Jimmy tries to make her feel bad. But the only reason it's my favorite scene is because the earlier scene on the bus, when Jimmy and her are talking, and it's the first time Jimmy has like, he's not drunk.
Yeah.
He's not being a dick. He actually talks honestly about like his past and stuff.
That's when she showed him the picture of her husband?
Yeah. And so because she's the only person he's ever been vulnerable with, when he tries to talk, when he makes her feel bad for leaving, you know that he's not just being a dick making her feel bad.
Yeah.
He actually cares.
Yes. I actually also have Jimmy telling Dottie not to quit as one of my favorite scenes.
Okay.
My other ones were the tryout scenes. That's just fun to watch. And his prayer before the last game is really kind of funny. But I agree with Drew that when he goes to tell her, he doesn't go begging or anything like that. Mm-hmm. He like respects her enough to be like, I understand this is your decision, but please, think about what you're giving up. And it doesn't turn around like amazingly like, oh, you're right, I should go do this, and they end up winning the World Series or anything like that. They actually play 6 games without her. Mm-hmm. So she actually has to take time to think about it and change her mind.
She goes as far as Yellowstone and turn around.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. What about you, Sherry? What's your favorite scene?
It is when they're reading their rules and they say like no men, and Madonna pretends to get up and leave, and I just and then them reading the rules in general, which a while ago when I watched this, it caused me to look up what the actual rules were for like what they could and could not do in that league. The first 2 are the ones that are the most like you expect it because it's the 40s, but it's just like really. One of them is boyish bobs are not permissible, and in general, your hair should be well groomed at all times, with longer hair preferable to short haircuts. Lipstick should always be on.
Oh my god!
And the other one that stands out more is always appear in feminine attire when not actively engaged in practice or playing ball. This regulation continues through the playoffs for all, even though if your team is not participating. Then in capital letters, at no time may a player appear in the stands in her uniform or wear slacks or shorts in public.
Oh my god.
No pants.
No pants?
No pants.
How am I supposed to slide in that?
I know, right? That's the part of the whole, like, when you're watching it and your feminist mind is just like, you get it, but you're like, oh god, such a short. Yeah, I'm gonna play baseball in this dress, sure. But
did you find this movie to be kind of emotional while you were watching it?
Sure.
Because I was kind of weepy through a lot of this movie.
Yeah.
Which took me by surprise, because it's a fairly upbeat movie for the most part, but it definitely was hitting a lot of emotional buttons throughout the whole thing. Yeah. I'm assuming you guys probably weren't, but
the scene I wasn't, but I think that probably one of the hardest scenes is first probably the hardest scene is when Betty Spaghetti gets the note about her husband.
Oh god!
And I love how like the messenger is just like, oh crap, I don't have the person's right name, and Jimmy is just like, give me the message, just give it to me.
Yeah.
And because he understands, like, A, someone here's heart is about to get broken, why are you going to just leave everyone like this? And B, we have a game to play, and now you're going to just blow any care that anyone has on this field, because everyone's worried about their kid. And then I think the other hardest scene.
Well, in that same scene, the drama of him slow walking through the locker room and Betty sitting right next to Dot, and she's the only other person you ever really hear about with her husband, and you don't know as the camera's turning if it's going to be Dot or Betty, and then it ends up being Betty.
And later, how shook she was after that happened. She's like following in her hotel room. Like, I get that. Like how
Bill Pullman shows up.
And Bill Pullman ends up.
Yeah.
But the other hard scene for me to kind of watch that, I wouldn't necessarily say I was getting emotional, is pretty much any scene with Lori Petty in it, because she drives me crazy.
She is the worst in this movie.
Her voice was at the extra whininess. Like, I was thinking about the only other movie I've really seen her in is Point Break, and I just don't even remember her being whiny like this. Like, this was a specific level of
don't you have a soul?
Hey, that's okay.
In Point Break, she does not spend the entire movie thinking everyone owes her everything,
right?
And that she's the most put upon person in the entire world. It was obnoxious.
Thank you for agreeing with me.
Yeah, she's very. It's like
so
she's
bad.
very babyish through this whole thing, and Gina Davis called her out several times. Like, you're acting like a baby. And,
I get it. It's like Ozzie Canseco and Jose Canseco, or Bobby Bonds Jr. and Barry Bonds. One of you has the talent, and the steroids. The other one doesn't. Like, I get the jealousy there, but it just got annoying.
Oh, it's
like,
bad.
It was
so bad.
it's
Too much. Too much of it.
I can't think if I actually liked Lori Petty in Point Break and then saw this movie and then started hating Lori Petty in Point Break, or if I've always just hated Lori Petty's acting. I mean, I'm sure she's a wonderful person, but there's something
She's
about
excellent in Orange is the New Black.
Yeah, I
You're
like her
right.
in that. She's
You're
good
right.
in it.
I will
Yes.
say
Very
this.
good.
Orange is the New Black, I think will redeem anything I've ever would have said bad about her, except for A League of Their Own. I agree. She's extra
She's rough
whiny
in this movie.
She's super whiny in this movie, and it is beyond annoying.
The worst part for me is that she's just a complete shit through the whole movie, and they let her fucking win.
I know.
Like,
I don't think it's a let her win, though. I mean,
no,
I
I'm
think
saying the screenwriters.
Oh, okay, good. 'Cause I think
The creators of Laverne and Shirley, who wrote this screenplay, let her win.
We're gonna do
And it's so annoying that it's also like, this is how you pitch to her. She can't hit these, and suddenly she can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because, again, I hadn't rewatched this movie in 20 years. And I couldn't remember when Dot was up to bat the inning before, does she blow her at bat or does she get a hit and she got a double? So I couldn't remember if she was just going to, waste her at bat so her sister throwing to her, would get this great strikeout or whatever. But no, she didn't. It was that she got this inside the field home run and Scott Cousins, Gina Davis's character, and she just couldn't keep a grasp on. She didn't have a death grip on that ball, and it rolled out of her hand. But I mean, she got to watch her sister enjoy a little glory at the end, and it's like she probably knew in that moment. Dot probably knew in that moment if her sister didn't get a chance to win something, she would never hear the end of it. This would be what is the story for the rest of their lives. But I got the impression the years between the end of the baseball league and then where the reunion came in, they maybe hung out once a year, maybe twice a year.
Yeah, because they seem like it's a rare occurrence when they run into each other.
That was weird too.
Yeah.
It was wild, but
I also God damn it. So after they win, and Dottie's like, oh yeah, I'm gonna quit, blah, 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 blah.
want to have kids.
Yeah, and Kit's like, there's time for that later, blah, blah, blah. So then, when you see her at the Hall of Fame later, she also wins in life, too, because she has more kids than her. She's got a living husband.
Well, and do we even know if Dot even had kids?
Yes. No, the very beginning. She's
Oh, that's right. Her daughter's there when she's packing.
I think she's living with her daughter.
Right.
I think
That's right.
Since
That's
Bill
right.
Pullman had died.
Right.
2 grandsons.
I will say I had to restart the movie after it was over, because at first I was like, and Kit has fucking kids and she doesn't. And then I
That's right.
went back and I was like, okay, she does have at least
The
8
beginning
kids.
scenes go on long.
I'm gonna.
And it's bizarre that they loop Gina Davis's voice over the actress.
Yeah.
So that is okay.
She sure does look like her.
Everybody on the record, that is not Gina Davis in
Physically,
old people
No,
makeup.
No.
Okay.
I know, right?
I mean,
It
I
looks
looked at her a
like
few
her.
times.
In the credits, it says Old Dottie, and it has another
I was
actor.
like, is that her mom?
I thought they did a good job. I mean, the cheekbones and everything about it.
The
was
casting is great, but then
Okay.
that voice is coming
I know,
out,
it's weird.
which then makes you start going like, is
Yeah.
that makeup? I can't
Yeah,
tell.
thank you. I was confused.
It was weird.
Yeah.
It's weird.
There was one scene in this movie that made me laugh my ass off, and it was when Marla's trying out, and the dad realizes that John Lovitz doesn't want her because she's a handsome woman. And the dad goes, it's my fault. Her mom died young. I made her play baseball. And in my mind, I'm like, no, it's your fault because half of your genes made up her face, bro. You are an ugly mofo.
I thought he was gonna say too. And then he goes, because I raised her like a boy. I was like, oh, I thought he was about to say because she looks like me.
But what did Marla get to do? Marla
She's
got
the
to
best.
sing the When Harry Met Sally song. She got to serenade Nelson while she was drunk off her ass, and she got a happily ever after. So
Yep, she married
you go,
that dude.
Marla. Anyone have any final thoughts about this before we move on to the next?
Just my favorite character, actually, other than Gina Davis, is Jimmy, is Tom Hanks. I like it. He's very funny, and I like how he works on himself and he turns around. Like I like it a lot. And that line, I forget if he must be the one delivering it when he's like, "Stop thinking with your tits." Like, I'm like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean?
Did you enjoy his Austin Powers-esque urination?
that is Tom Hanks's thing. He pees in a lot of movies.
Really?
Yes.
Like you say, does he pee in Big?
Yes. He pees in Forrest Gump.
Money Pit?
I don't know. But he
love
pees.
that.
Yeah, he does, I think.
This is his thing.
So when Brad Pitt eats, he pees.
And Tom Cruise runs. Yes, there's...
Tom Cruise
yeah.
does run.
Yeah, no.
Tom Cruise runs.
Robot run. He does.
Interesting.
Now I'm just gonna look up. We're gonna go down some like Tom Hanks peeing your rabbit hole.
What I like about him in this movie is he's usually not an asshole. So I find that's what I find very I like
It was
a lot. Because I like Tom
It
Hanks.
was
I do.
too dialed up, though. And
Oh,
it
I
was
know.
Just like,
I know.
Such
It is.
a character.
It is. It's sure. It totally is. It totally is.
I don't know. You don't think that some of the other characters were kind of dialed up a little bit?
It just bugged me the most with him, though. It really
I can see
bothered
that.
me. I mean,
I just
he
like it.
delivers the most memorable line,
Sure.
there's no crying in baseball. I think if...
Which is show me the money of this movie.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Where when it
Yeah.
happens, you're
Exactly.
like, didn't really want to hear that again.
No.
Yeah, it's just. Plus, also, I'm sure plenty of people cry.
Yeah. All right.
I've seen it happen.
And finally, we have reached our last movie, Bad News Bears, which came out in 1976, stars Walter Matthau and a slew of young talent that some we heard from again, some we had heard of already, and some we never heard from again. And this is about how Walter Matthau's character, Buttermaker, is an alcoholic, pool cleaning, former baseball player who never made it to the major leagues, gets hired to coach a little league baseball team, a team that's not even supposed to be part of this league, but because of some sort of like
Original participation trophy type thing.
some sort of political kind of thing. They become a team in this what is normally supposed to be a 6-team league. They become the 7th team, and they're your usual kind of band of misfits kind of team where they don't really know how to play. They don't know how to really catch or throw or hit or anything like that.
Not
And
very athletic at all.
Not very athletic. Some of them are playing because they want to play. Some of them are playing because it's in their family. Like, there's a history of being athletic. And some of them are playing because their dad is on the city council. Buttermaker's job is to basically coach this team, and it gets to a point where they're the worst team in the league, and then they go to the championship. And this is a movie that I first saw as a little kid in the 80s. I saw it on TV because I wasn't born when it came out. I've always liked this movie. This is just a really fun movie that kind of goes beyond baseball. It has, there's a lot of popularity about culturally within this movie. It got remade in the 2000s, and it's really not good. The original had a couple sequels made from it. I've seen the second sequel a number of times as well. It's called Bad News. It's like Back in Training or something like that. And in that one, they go on a road trip, so that's kind of fun. And then in the third one, they go to Japan and play a Japanese little league team, and it's just a fun kind of movie. But it deals with a lot of serious life issues. Buttermaker is got a drinking problem. He, kind of had a relationship with a woman and became very close with her daughter, and so that there's kind of a father-daughter kind of relationship that you kind of deal with. There's all the relationships that all the kids have with each other. There's kind of a juvenile delinquent kind of character who, just wants to be a part of something and how he can be there. And then there's another little kid on the team who's not very talented at all, who's constantly getting picked on, who you try and you watch kind of his journey to see, what kind of success he'll have. And I think that's probably the most emotional moment at the end of the movie, where he's terrible and they just never play him. And then he not only catches a ball, but he saves a home run in the championship game. And that is probably the best scene in this movie for me. I always get kind of choked up watching that scene.
That's Lupus, right?
That's Lupus, yeah. What a name.
I'd also
Booger picking spaz.
The booger picking spaz, yeah.
I'd also say that this movie has some of the qualities that a lot of like the edgy 70s cinema had.
It's kind of like it has that All in the Family style dialogue, I would say.
Oh, yes.
That where it's very just kind of like not PC. The dialogue in this would not fly in any movie with kids whatsoever these days, especially kids that age.
Yeah.
Was it what is the rating in this movie? Do you know?
I think it's a PG-13.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, so it wasn't a kids movie to begin with. Yeah,
it would be an R-rated movie now.
Yeah.
Because there wouldn't even be PG-13 then.
Oh, you're right, because that didn't come out until the 80s.
Yeah.
But who knows? They could have released this movie. I don't think they might not have released this as an R-rated movie in 1976, just because of how the culture was. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure.
That would be an interesting thing to check.
Well, why don't we pass it over to Drew, because this is one of your favorite movies, right?
Oh, easily. Yeah. Where do you want to start with it?
Well, I mean, when did you first see this movie?
I first saw this movie when I was 19. I started working at this heating and air conditioning place, and I had this weird older dude who sat next to me who would just tell me what movies to rent from Blockbuster. Mm-hmm. And luckily he was, he grew up in the 70s, so all of his recommendations were like, go rent Bad News Bears, go rent The Godfather, go rent The Conversation.
Nice.
Conversation.
He didn't
So I just
say
said-
Beethoven and...
No, none of those. And so,
Real recommendation.
I had already seen Grumpy Old Men and Grumpier Old Men, and was
Why?
fun.
It's Jack
I
Lemmon
don't
and Walter
know.
Matthau.
I honestly don't know why I went and saw those, but so I had an affinity for Walter Matthau. So when this dude was like, "Watch this movie," Walter Matthau just plays a drunk who coaches a little league team and swears at everyone. I was like,
Smoking cigars.
sounds up my alley, my man. The thing I love is that they set his character up perfectly from the very start.
That's my favorite scene, is the opening scene.
He shows up. He opens his door. A beer falls out. Like an empty falls out. He cracks one, pours a little out, pours some whiskey into it, which I just did. And then he goes and meets with Whitewood. And as Whitewood's trying to give him the speech of like, "Oh, it's so great you're doing this," blah blah blah, Buttermaker's just like, "You got my check?"
Right.
by the way, it's not signed.
Yes, exactly. Nothing about what's being said to him could he give a fuck about, except for, am I getting paid to put up with these little runts?
I got pools to clean.
Like he's a babysitter.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's getting paid. He thinks he's getting paid to be a babysitter for, for a season. And
So he and Tom Hanks' character have a little in common.
Yes, except one seems realistic.
Exactly. But they're both drunks.
One seems very lived in the role, and the other one does not.
Correct.
yeah.
But yeah, you meet the team, and in my mind, in the opening of him meeting the team and trying to decide where they should play or if they have an idea where they should play, just in that scene alone, I feel like you understand who Tanner is, who Engelberg is, who Ogilvy is for sure,
Yeah.
who Lupus is, and right there, 4 main characters are introduced in like
A 10-minute period, if that.
just that scene alone is only probably like 2 minutes long,
Yeah.
and you already just know who those kids are. And that the director, Michael Ritchie, I think does a great job all throughout the movie of just parceling out information about these kids so that, you know, by the midway point of the film, you're completely invested in every single one of them.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Who's
And-
your favorite character?
Buttermaker, for sure.
If you can be the second one too.
Of the kids, it's definitely... Not definitely. Like, it changes from time to time. This particular viewing, it was Tanner.
He's the one who's always fighting, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
He's the heart of the team.
Yeah.
Because even when like they all are like they lose their first game, they're completely embarrassed, and they all vote to quit. He's the one that's like, I don't want to quit. I want to
Yeah.
play.
Yeah. He's, you know, he has his scene where he goes on his little racist
Yeah.
tirade, which obviously is not cool. But he's always honest.
Mm-hmm.
He
Yeah.
never sugarcoats anything. And there's a scene when Lupus gets beat up by the Yankees, or
They
by
squirt
two
the
of them.
ketchup all over
Yeah.
the set and stuff.
Ugh.
Like, right before that happens, Tanner is talking shit to Lupus.
Yes.
Like-
yes.
But then, it's one of those things like, I can do it, but you can't.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Right.
he's my teammate.
Right.
And there's that heartbreaking line where Lupus is like, oh, ain't nobody ever stood up for me before.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, that's a turning point for Lupus, too, where Lupus is like, wow, someone finally cares about me
Yeah.
in this world. And from that moment on, you never really see Tanner, like, every once in a while he'll, like, encourage Lupus to, like,
Stick up for himself.
yeah, like,
and-
he'll still say derogatory things, but there will be a, like, if you stop being like this, maybe things get better. Like, from that point on, Tanner is trying to help Lupus,
yeah.
which is interesting. I don't know. I could talk all day. So
Matt,
somebody else.
Matt, who's your favorite character?
I really like Ahmed,
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
the
He's
lone
great.
black kid on the team. But I think my favorite character is Amanda, played by Tatum
She's so
O'Neal.
She's
Her and Walter Matthau are probably the only really known actors in this movie that you would know of, like,
At that time.
at that time.
Yeah.
She's really great as an actress in this, and I just love her character because she is very strong-willed and very open-minded and very strong-minded. You know, she tries to put, she calls Buttermaker Boilermaker and Butterworth, and like makes up all these names for him because just to kind of put him in his place, because she's like, you screwed over my mom. I always thought you were like a dad, but you never treated me like that. Why would I ever listen to you? And why would I help you? And then
I'm getting a bra soon, so I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and she was evidence to Buttermaker that he really can groom a kid to be a good ball player, because he taught her how to pitch, and it was the time and investment that he had to just put into a kid to make them to really make their strengths come out. Now, of course, you got to have some natural talent, of course, but she should have been like this example to him, like, hey, you really could probably do this with a whole team of kids if you put your mind to it.
Yeah.
And she, of course, comes in and helps really turn the team around, which I thought was amazing. Like, that if they were going to, of all the kids that they could have brought in, that it'd be a girl. I was thrilled to see that. Yeah. She is my favorite character, along with Ogilvy. I love that kid. I love that he's this poor asthmatic kid who just wants to be there, but he's this encyclopedia worth of knowledge. The fact that he's just is the
Mr. Statistics.
Mr. Statistics, Mr.
Which I
Scorekeeper,
love.
Mr. Historian.
Yeah.
I thought he was so sweet and great. And at the very end, when with the big turning point when Buttermaker realizes all these kids deserve a shot to play. Winning isn't what's important.
It's
I want
about
these
having fun
kids
and-
to have
yeah.
fun. And when he wants to put him in, and Ogilvy just protests, saying, he goes, next to Lupus, I'm the second worst kid in the entire league. You know, he's so shy about even wanting to play because he just knows he's so bad and their team has an actual chance to win. I just thought he was so sweet.
I think that, you know, they give kind of like different screen time to a lot of the different kids. So it's really, to Drew's point, like, every time you watch it, you kind of think you can kind of focus on a different kid. Mm-hmm. And I mean, I've watched this movie a number of times too, and
I just saw it recently.
that was
my
the
third movie.
I badgered Nancy about never seeing. And I think just with every watching, you can like you really kind of see someone else kind of stand out.
Mm-hmm. What about you, Sherry?
Well, I wrote for my favorite character. I wrote Buttermaker with "duh" next to it, but I mean, there's so many great characters. I mean, Kelly Leak is so great. Like he's just it's so he's like hitting on oh gosh, what's the character's name? It's Tatum's character name.
Amanda.
When he's like hitting on her, and she's like, I'm going to a Rolling Stones concert with him on a date, and like Buttermaker's like, what are you talking about? You're like 11. Like, no. And
or when he's hitting on the
he's just hitting on the older woman. Like he's
class.
terrible, but he's also just awesome, and he's like really into it. And it really the scene. I mean, so many scenes are so great with all the characters. Like they just really show so many sides to them. But you know, in the end, when he gets upset, when he tells them to like make all the catches, you know, for everybody that can't hack it, that's having trouble, and he's upset because he doesn't want everybody, all of a sudden they start like disliking him because he's doing that, and you know, a ball hog and everything, and he doesn't want that. You know, he just wants, in the end, even though you don't think it, he just wants to be liked and he wants to be accepted, and I think it really shows that. And but Walter Matthau, I mean, he's just such a comedic genius. He's so awesome. Like in anything he's in, you know, but especially this movie is just really. You see it, how funny he is. I mean, it's just amazing, and how much he cares. And so many scenes stand out too. But other than the opening scene where when he gets out of his car, I love so much. But when he climbs up into that tree with Ahmed and stuff, I mean, it's just like it shows you right there, like okay, like you're kind of wondering about this guy, like okay, you know, but how much he cares and he wants to help him, and that Hank Aaron, it's such a great kid type of speech to give somebody, like what he tells about Hank Aaron and all his errors that he had and stuff, which is total, I'm sure, not true, but maybe it is. I don't know.
Well, I think that why this movie kind of stands out to me is because of the dramatic moments in this movie.
Yes.
Because there are some really like tough scenes in this movie.
There's
like,
genuinely scary scenes in this movie.
Yeah, I mean,
where it's like you're 8 and an adult is throwing things at you or hitting you.
Right.
Like,
I mean, there's
no one's around to stop them either.
Right. I mean, there's a scene that he has with Amanda where she started to kind of get close to him again, and she's become vulnerable, and she's opening up to like, you know, I'd really like it if like we could go out and hang out with my mom.
That scene is just
and you know, let's go to a movie. And he's just like, you know, we'll just take the whole team. And she's like, no, I was thinking about us. And it's like he just swears at her and like throws beer on her, and it's just like, can't you understand? I don't want to hang out with you. And it's like, what the hell?
If I wanted to hang out with you, I would have called you 2 years ago.
Right.
He screams at her.
Yeah.
And you can tell he just hates himself so much.
Yeah, as soon as she walks away, like he wells up, and you realize like he did it because he hates himself so much, and probably he's afraid that like he's not emotionally able to be there for her in the way that she wants. And so he does the, like, you know, get away from me.
I wrote self-sabotage, self-fulfilling prophecy.
But, like,
no one wants to hang out with me anyway.
He full on knows what he did was wrong.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. No, and he has a couple scenes like that. He has one with Amanda. He has one with the whole team.
Yeah.
And it's really kind of like you're watching this going, I can't believe this is happening. But probably the most dramatic scene in the entire movie is Engelberg has a run-in kind of with the pitcher of the opposing team in the championship game, and the pitcher throws at Engelberg's head, and the pitcher's the son of the coach of the Yankees, and the coach comes out there, Turner, and he's just like, "What's the matter with you?" And he hits him in his head on the mound. He slaps him against the face.
Knocks him to the ground.
Knocks him to the ground. Everyone sees this, and like the entire field is like dead silent.
Boy's mom.
And this is also that moment where Walter Buttermaker kind of realizes, like, why the fuck do I care about winning this game?
Well, right before that is the scene where he screams at the whole team, and he's like, "Don't you bastards want to win?" Blah, blah. And they all just are like blankly staring at him. And as they like go back out on the field, you see Buttermaker like they don't really care. But at that point, he's probably still pissed about it.
Yeah.
But after he sees Turner, then in his mind he's like, if I keep doing this, I become Turner.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Right, and which is funny because I think
won't do that.
Yeah, and that got to him. That's why he started acting like wanting to win. I think too, because like that guy was being a dick to him. So
and that's like, when what I think is the greatest scene with Lupus happens, which is not the catch, but it's when he tells Lupus to go in, and Lupus is like, "But I'm the worst player," blah 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 blah. And Buttermaker says to him, "Did you come into this life to just sit on the bench in the dugout?" And he's like, "No." And he's like, "Well, then just get out there and do your best."
Exactly. Which
is the fucking moral of the movie. It's why every child should watch this fucking movie. Is, spoilers, the Bears don't win. It's not about that.
Right. Yeah.
Like, it's about trying. And if you can honestly say you did your best, it doesn't matter if you fail. You're a success in that you put yourself out there. You did something, and you tried.
Yeah.
And that, like, when Buttermaker first shows up at the field, there is no idea that is a conclusion he's going to come to later in the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, well, that scene from when the Yankees coach comes out and smacks his kid, and how there's like that pin drop silence, and then everybody gets kind of woken up, and then Buttermaker realizes, oh my god, this game is supposed to be fun. All these kids deserve a chance. Like, that's my favorite moment in the whole movie, just because the kids really, I mean, they're so poised to win, but he finally is embraced, like you said.
Yeah.
It's not about winning. It's just, we all deserve a chance to play. We all deserve to have fun and do your best. Because even at the very end, here Kelly Leak almost gets an inside the park home run, but he's just short.
Yeah.
And gets called out at home. But it's okay. He's the best player on the team, and even he can't deliver, but it's okay, because who cares?
But even if he had scored and they had won, it would have been a hollow victory because of the run scored when Turner just holds the ball.
Yeah.
Right.
And lets him run the bases.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Which I loved, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was rough. I mean,
and that speaks to what I was saying about how like scary things happen to kids and no one does anything.
Yeah, no,
his
for
mom
sure.
just kind of looks over and is like, "You bastard."
Yeah.
Like, it's like,
well, she took him out of the game and they left. I mean, that was.
But it used to be. But I mean, like, it seems like it seems like. And I feel like that's in the 70s. It was more acceptable.
No
like,
one's
just
like,
to kind of be
"Hey,
like
coach,
being
you
shitty to
can't
kids.
slap a kid on the field."
Or
like,
no parent
fired.
No parent came out and like beat the shit out of him, or called the cops. Which is what would have happened these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think I wanted to ask you, Nancy, because you had not seen this movie before. watching it for the first time, and then kind of seeing how it started, and then the dramatic ending that it has, even though it's, they don't win or anything like that, but how the movie progresses and seeing that moment, like how did the movie kind of meet or exceed your expectations in that moment?
Well, I mean, regardless of what happens, the fact that this movie is scored to Carmen, I mean, that alone was genius. No, this movie was excellent.
Which you just saw.
Well, yeah, I saw that performed in
cool.
person. No, I thought this movie was excellent. I mean, I think I've seen both the Grumpier Old Men movies too, and I've never been someone who's like Walter Matthau, like I gotta go run out and see every Walter Matthau movie. I mean, him being so grouchy, like that kind of energy is something that
There's the Odd Couple too.
I find the kind of conflict that he brings challenging. I mean, like him just being like this constant drunk, this total grouch, like that's hard to watch. Like it's very uncomfortable, especially like as an adult watching how he treats kids. It's hard, but seeing his progression. I mean, because he's also, I mean, he's not equipped to do this. I mean, I would love to know, like his character must have cleaned the guy's pool, and like is that how he met? Is that how he met?
Pretty much.
He doesn't give a lot of info either when he starts.
Yeah, because the guy's like on city council or something, right? So he must be like his pool cleaner or something, and maybe talk to him once, and it turns out, oh yeah, I used to play baseball or whatever. But no, he makes it very. He makes a lot of the movie uncomfortable to watch, but in a good way, because I mean that's what you're supposed to feel. And I mean the fact that the only uniform sponsor they can get is Chico's bail bonds. I mean that's pretty damn hilarious.
And all the good colors have been taken. So
Yeah.
Piss yellow.
No, I thought this movie was excellent, and I thought the fact that none of these kids were really like natural athletes felt so real. I mean, when you think about kids just learning how to play a sport, barely knowing how to even put the equipment. I mean, when Buttermaker had to like say, "This is a ball," you throw a ball, you catch a ball, you hit a ball, and Tanner yells at me, "You goddamn don't think we know what a ball is? What's your problem?" But I mean, Buttermaker was seeing them as that. Kind of infantile in terms of their athleticism, and really was kind of at a loss on how am I supposed to sculpt these kids. I mean, if he had been handed a great team, that would have been a totally different situation. But no, he was handed these poor kids that, didn't really even know what the positions were out in the field. And, but no, I thought it was excellent. In fact, I watched it twice in the last couple weeks. So I would say it's definitely a movie I wouldn't mind watching again at another point. I know you guys are saying it'd be great for kids to see, but I just don't know with the language and the totally non-PC quality of this movie, how you could show a kid nowadays.
I just think that when the movie came out, people making movies then were probably like, oh, there's kids in it. This is probably a kid's movie, and it probably just made its way into theaters as like a kids movie.
I think it's got a lot of good messages for kids. Like there's all some questionable things too, I guess, in this day and age. But also, I think it would be perfect to show to a kid that was a little older that was into playing a sport and lost a game or something, and just I don't know, things like that. But I honestly I would totally let River watch this movie when he's a little older. I mean, I think that. Sit and watch it with him, explain it to him. I don't know.
Maybe just tell him that there's certain names you don't call people.
Well, yeah. I mean, hopefully he already knows that.
The thing that I love about When They Lose, too, is that... So it's 1976. I hate Spielberg, and I think that his influence on film, made the late 80s and the early 90s just become sappy and, heartstring tugging and blah, 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 blah. If this movie had been made in the 80s, When They Lose, there would have been, maudlin music playing, and, it would have spent so much time with them processing the fact that they lost and, blah, blah, blah. And in this movie, it's they lose. 3 seconds later, Buttermaker is handing them beers and going, "We're celebrating. Like, we shouldn't have even have come this far. Like, be proud of yourself."
Yeah.
And there's not a single moment of like, "Oh no, we let ourselves down or we let someone else down." It's just like, yeah, you lost, but so what?
Well, and then when there's this super like really awkward moment where the two teams meet at home plate and they're like the team that won is holding their gigantic fucking trophy and they're handing, you know, the Bears their little second place trophy.
She hands him the trophy.
And they're like,
he says, "Thank you, sir."
That's great.
Yes.
That's great.
And she shoots
Her
him
face
this
is like,
look.
what?
But you know,
She sucks.
one of the guys on the Yankees is like, you know, we were really hard on you, but you turned out to be okay, and no hard feelings, and you know, so we're sorry. And then Tanner like doesn't skip a beat. He's like, you know what you could take with your crummy apology? You could shove it up your ass, and we'll see.
And it wasn't it Lupus, and then
Take your apology and trophy and shove it straight up your ass, and then Lupus delivers the last line of the film, which is, "And another thing, just wait till next year."
And then they throw the trophy, and then the kids.
Lupus throws a beer at him too.
Well, and then they all just start throwing beer on each other and celebrating because, again, they weren't even supposed to get that far. I mean, and they all played hard, and they had fun, and they did their best.
And they also have hope.
Yeah, exactly. How many movies do you see that give you that?
Yeah,
Like,
not many.
I mean, when you're done with it, especially in a sports movie, it's either, oh, we all fucking won, or
This movie, they actually had the courage to be like, no, they can lose. The heroes can lose, and it can still be an uplifting movie.
yeah, I'd agree.
all right,
Favorite scene?
I think my favorite scene. I like the whole everything that happens in that last half an hour with that final game is great. But if I have to pick one scene that is hilarious is when they're cleaning the pools and they're done, and Buttermaker is telling them all stories about he keeps repeating the same story over and over again about striking out Ted Williams. And
The smash cut to him on the mound.
not that.
Okay.
No. They're done cleaning
In the minors.
pools, and Lupus is making him a martini.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
he
yeah.
hands him the martini, and he's like, "That is wonderful. That's superb. Thank you."
So great.
Sherry.
Just that opening scene. Well, the opening scene when he's getting out of his car. I love. Yeah, and when he's climbing the tree. But I also love it when they call Kelly a loan shark. That scene makes me laugh. Yeah.
Nancy.
It was the dramatic scene from the Yankees pitcher smacking the kid, and then everybody having the wake up call that I've got to have fun. This is too serious.
Mine. So it again,
Changes.
it can change all the time. This particular time, it's kind of like a domino effect. Like these three scenes just kind of they come right in a row, and it starts with Ahmad going in the tree, and Buttermaker goes up there, gives him the little speech, blah blah blah. First time that he gives a shit. I also love the line where Ahmad calls him a honky.
Yes.
And he goes,
It's so great.
"We've got enough problems. We don't need to bring race into this." But so the very next scene is he goes to meet Whitewood at City Hall, and Whitewood's like, "Just disband it. Like one game in, it's an embarrassment. Just disband it." And so Buttermaker then is like, "Nah, like." It's the same reason Kelly Leak joins the team. Is as soon as someone is like, "You can't," it's like, "Nah, I can."
Yeah.
And then the next scene,
Just watch me.
Buttermaker apologizes to the team for it, and he has the great line where he goes, he asks everyone, "Do you want to quit?" Blah 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 blah, and a few of them say yes, and he gives the line where he's like, he goes, "You don't want to start doing this because this quitting thing is a hard habit to break once you start."
Yeah.
And that's a great lesson for kids is if early on you realize, like, the going's tough, I'll just quit.
Yeah.
Like, it just keeps getting easier and easier and easier. And it could have been very easy for Buttermaker to quit, because he's already got his check.
Yeah.
The guy didn't say disband the team and give me my money back.
No, he paid him.
He could have just taken the money, only had to have coached one game, went and got drunk.
Never showed up.
But there was something in that first game where he's like, I'm going to do something to help these kids. And then the next scene, which I didn't even write down as being the next scene, but the next scene is when he goes to recruit Amanda.
Yeah.
So he's like, I'll actually go get someone who will help you as well. And so, yeah, just that, the first turn of his character. Because he does constantly turn back and forth throughout the movie between hero and not so great guy.
Yeah.
But yeah, those pairings of scenes are just fantastic to me.
Wow. Well, I think that, we've talked about a lot of different stuff with these movies, and so before we started the podcast and while we were all watching the movies, I had asked everybody here to rank the movies from favorite to least favorite of these 5. Yeah, you don't really have to give too much of a reason, but starting with your least favorite movie, Nancy, why don't you give us your top 5? Or your order of least to best.
Sandlot, Field of Dreams, A League of Their Own, Sophie's Choice. I think it would just depend on my mood. I'm not.
I don't think any of the movies are going to die in World War
II. The top 2 are Bull Durham and Bad News Bears, and I really think it just would depend on my mood. If it's a dramatic mood, Bad News Bears. If it's a, female empowerment movie mood, Bull Durham.
All right. On the next, my number 5 would be Sandlot, and my number 4 would be, I kind of will flip-flop these, kind of like you would your 1 and 2. I'd flip-flop my 3 and 4. It's between Field of Dreams and League of Their Own. Written down here, I have Sandlot, then League of Their Own, then Field of Dreams, but I think depending on mood and whatnot, those could flip-flop. Then Bull Durham, then Bad News Bears. Bad News Bears is the first one I saw of all of these, and it probably had the biggest impact on me at a young age, as someone who liked baseball and as a youth watching it. So,
how old did you say when you first watched it?
I was probably like 8 or 9.
And I'll just clarify: this is a movie we clearly never had as a dub. We
never had this. We never had a copy of this.
I think it would have been something I would have been exposed to earlier. If
this
we
was.
Had
they used to play it on TV. I never watched it.
It was always on like TBS. It was always on TBS. It was like you watched this, and then the Braves game came on.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Well,
so
and I didn't see it until when you told me to watch it about 8 years ago or whenever it was.
Sherry, what's your rank?
Field of Dreams last, then League of Their Own, even though I do really like League of Their Own. And then I probably would say Bad News Bears and Sandlot are like tied, like 2 and 3, and then Bull Durham is my favorite.
All right.
Bull Durham is my favorite baseball movie.
True.
Sacrilege. So I rated them out of 5 stars, and Field of Dreams and Sandlot actually I gave the same rating to, but Sandlot just seems so much worse than Field of Dreams to me. So yeah, Sandlot 5, Field of Dreams 4, League of Their Own, Bull Durham, Bad News Bears.
All right. Very similar to mine then.
I was actually very surprised at how much I enjoyed Bull Durham.
Really?
Yeah, like it's 3, 4, and 5 are like,
yeah, I
hate you, I never want to watch you again. And then there's Bull Durham and Bad News Bears.
Well, one of the reasons
not hate you, I never want to watch you again for League of Their Own.
Yeah. But if you
I
never
don't
watched again,
ever want to
then,
watch you again. I wish you were directed by someone else.
Well, I mean, and that's one of the. I mean, Nancy and I have now been doing this podcast for a few months now, and we really appreciate you guys listening and all the viewers or all the listeners that listen to our podcast. And it really is about movies that we grew up watching and ones that have influenced us. And I think that it was a really great discussion. I just wanted to bring up one last thing, and we could talk about this more if anyone has any opinions about this. Is I had asked on Facebook anyone who had a favorite baseball movie, and some people suggested some ones that we didn't talk about. And ones that, if you've seen it, check it out. There's one that I hadn't seen that I'm going to go check out after this. 42, which came out a few years ago, which is about Jackie Robinson. Someone had mentioned was their favorite baseball movie.
Doesn't that star the Black Panther?
It
Yes.
does star the Black Panther.
That's the one we saw. What
saw that.
one are you talking about that you didn't see?
I'll get to that.
Okay.
Moneyball, which is... I really like Moneyball.
Fantastic film.
It's awesome.
It's one of those movies where when it's on, I'll just stop and watch it. It's a newer movie.
I think for A's fans even more, it has even other than being an excellent film, I think it has even more meaning too. Yeah.
I know some people who are A's fans who also don't like it because they don't like having to rewatch things about that season.
I get that.
Mr. 3000, which
I need to watch that.
is I have not seen, but someone said actually give it a try. It's really good. I said okay.
Never heard of it.
But probably the number one movie that people recommended that we opted not to talk about is Major League.
I've seen the second one.
Did you ever see the first one?
No.
I think you and I saw that
It's
movie
funny.
a few times.
I've seen it many times. Yeah. It's not my favorite baseball movie. I think that it does have some flaws. I mentioned in our natural podcast that I have a hard time promoting anything with Charlie Sheen in it for some reason. Although then I'll probably promote, and then I'll be like, oh yeah, wait, Charlie Sheen was in that movie. Fuck. But
he's such a huge figure in that movie, though.
He is, and
he's the Nuke Lelouch in that movie.
Well, and I think like all of his antics of the last 10 years that we could, if that's kind of spawn off of like that character.
Yeah.
Like
he's the wild thing.
Yeah, exactly. But a lot of people really like that movie. It's a comedy. It has that kind of like almost Bad News Bears kind of feel, but they end up winning, I guess. So I don't know. But
out of our list, like Field of Dreams really is the one that you can't classify as a comedy.
Yeah.
If you want a film with the Giants in it, you could always do The Fan. With Wesley Snipes and Robert De Niro.
I've never watched that.
Tony
Me
Scott
neither.
film.
The
Benicio del Toro's in it.
It's so bad.
Never saw it.
Bad.
I just named
Wesley Snipes
two
is supposed to be-
Academy Award winning actors. Tony Scott.
It's so not that good.
Yeah, it's an awful.
Isn't Robert De Niro in it?
Yeah,
That's what you're saying.
he's the fan.
Is he supposed to? Is Wesley Snipes supposed to be like Barry Bonds or something? Kind of like the
Basically,
idea of
Yeah, but it's not good.
It's so bad. I rewatched it recently.
Why did you torture yourself like that?
baseball movies.
I was like, it can't be as bad as I remember it. It has all this talent involved.
Oh wait,
Oh, it can.
it can be.
It can be.
Some movies just they don't ripen with age.
No.
But again, I want to thank everybody for listening and for participating. Another movie that was not suggested by anyone on Facebook was 8 Men Out with John Cusack in it, and it's a good. I don't know. It's a pretty
I've never
interesting
seen
movie.
it, but I'd like to watch it sometime.
I'd like to ask him what his favorite baseball movie that he wasn't in is. Maybe he can clarify what sport his character played in Stand By Me. So if anyone knows any way to
He was a
contact
professional
them-
skier.
Was he a professional skier? I still firmly believe that that movie originally was supposed to be about what really happened with Diane Courtney.
No.
All right. So again, I want to thank Drew and Sherry for coming on and
Thank you,
joining us.
guys.
This was a lot of fun.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And for Podcat for calming down, and I know he had a lot of opinions. And thank you for listening.
Thank you.